Are you trying to settle debt on your own, but you actually don't know where to start? Like, what percentage should you offer? How does it work? Who sues? Who doesn't sue? Who you should settle? We're gonna cover a lot of that in this video, so let's get started. Welcome to the Ascend Finance's YouTube channel, where we cover debt settlement and help you understand costs, pros and cons of your options to help you be more informed to get you out of debt cheaper, easier, and faster. My name is Ben, and I'm the co-founder here at Ascend. In this video, I'm going to cover 5 things you should know about settling in debt. And also, this is not legal advice, but just for informational only. And if you'd like personalized information, we built a free debt resolution calculator that, including the link in the description below, that kind of provides cost, duration, pros and cons of different options. So if you're not settled on debt settlement, or you want to look at different options and the costs, then you can take that video. Also, if you like this video, I always appreciate the like, and it's always encouraging to me. And if you want to see additional content about getting out of debt, settling debt, maybe avoiding tax and debt settlement, etc., please subscribe because we make new videos weekly. So let's get started. So there are many pros and cons to settling debt on your own opposed to working with a debt settlement company. And one of the main pros is saving the money on fees, right? So debt settlement companies generally charge between 15 and 25% of the debt, depending on how much debt you have and which companies are. So those fees can add up really quickly. So probably one of the biggest pros of settling a debt on your own is not paying those fees. Now there's a lot of cons too that we won't cover in this video. We'll probably cover in another video, but I just want to let you know that there is pros to settling debt on your own. So first, I'm going to talk a little bit about this process of settling debt, right? First, you're going to kind of gather your financial information, examine where you are, how much debt you have. Is there a lawsuit? Is there a potential lawsuit, right? Because some creditors sue and some don't sue, right? So let's talk about percentages, right? Being pre-lawsuit versus lawsuit is very huge, right? So if you're not currently facing a debt collection lawsuit, the creditors may be willing to settle for less than is owed than if it was, right? So let's say you take creditor 1 and you make them an offer of 30 or 40% of the debt, but the debt is 180 days past due. Let's say they may take that 30 or 40%. Maybe they renegotiate down to 50%. A lot of times 50% is that number that if you go to debt settlement companies, I think they basically base their estimates on 50%. So just think of that 50% number probably in your head for a bit. Now, each creditor is different. So 50% is that's kind of the estimate that we used to use when we were a debt settlement company. But now let's say they haven't sent the debt to a collection law firm, right? Then they may settle the debt for 30, 40, 50% of the balance, right? But let's say they've just sent it to a debt collection law firm. So they'll say, no, I don't really want it. We're sending it to pre-law. The challenge with when you get to a debt collection lawsuit, when you get sued for the debt, the percentage they settle for is often much higher, right? Because the creditor collector are now paying the law firm a fee for their services to sue you, right? There's a lot of costs when you're suing someone. So the law firm may say, hey, whatever we recover, we're going to take 30% of that, right? So now you're crunching the creditor's margins. So maybe they might not be taking 50 or 40 or 50, percentage wise that they would before they did that, because now they have additional costs they have to consider, right? And furthermore, once they sue, then they're saying, okay, the debt's, within the statute of limitations, the debt is definitely due, it's definitely theirs. And if they don't pay it, we'll just, try to get a judgment and garnish them. So in that situation, they may have more leverage as well, right? When it goes to that lawsuit. So when you get to post lawsuit, so let's say you just got a debt collection lawsuit and you're like, okay, I want to settle this debt. It may be harder, first of all, because you're in that lawsuit stage. And secondly, it might be difficult to determine who you settle the debt for, right? Do you settle the debt with the creditor or the law firm that is now suing you, right? Because there's two different, there's the Midland funding, if it's Midland funding, and there's the law firm that Midland funding uses if they're not, if they're not a law firm themselves, right? So in this situation, it could be the debt that the settlement could go up to 60, 70%, maybe even higher based on kind of what they think is possible, right? So the next thing about when you're thinking about percentages of who to settle and what for, you should probably also consider the creditor, right? You may want to consider the creditor because the percentages may differ from the creditors themselves, right? Some creditors may take better settlements, others may not. For example, credit unions may not take settlements at all, right? They might say, you got to pay the balance or else, right? What is else? Well, we'll figure that out, right? And another one's like federal credit unions. They may not take any balance less than balance owed, right? They might take 100, I'll take 100%, right? The other thing is to consider is where are you at in your own financial journey, right? So let's say you're just on Social Security or disability income and you clearly do not have enough money at each month to pay for the debt, right? And if they try to get judgment, you're judgment proof potentially, so they can't even extract any money even if they got a judgment. In that situation, they may be willing to settle for quite a bit less, right? It just really depends as well on your financial situation. So the next thing when you're thinking about percentage that you're gonna offer for settlement is how past due is the debt, right? If the debt is like 30 days past due, you may not get as good of a deal as if it's like 180 or 2 years past due or 3 years past due or past the statute of limitations, right? You know, my wife and I were on a car trip and my wife would tell me like, hey, this company, this church just basically paid $15,000 for $3 million worth of debt. And they forgave it all, medical debt, just completely forgave it all, right? And I was thinking to myself, you know, I used to work with a debt consolidation loan company, right? And I knew no debt collector is not going to take that amount of money unless the debt is past the statute of limitations, right? If they have no access to collect on it, then of course they're going to they could sell the debt for you pay $15,000 for $3 million with the debt. But at that stage, it's not really actually doing anyone any good. It's just a PR, like what it seems like is just a PR stunt in that situation, because it's like, well, even if they tried, you know, if the debt is past the statute of limitations, then they don't have a means to sue you to get paid for that debt. So obviously in that sense, they're going to take probably way less, right, than if the debt is within the statute of limitations and they can sue you for it, right? So that's just something to know, is how old the debt could reflect what percentage the debt collector or creditor will take. So the next thing that, you know, percentage of debt, like how much are they going to take? The lump sum versus structured settlement. You may be able to get a better deal on a lump sum because like a creditor is thinking cash in pocket is better than future cash that is risky of not being in my pocket, right? And so in that sense, you maybe get a better deal if you're saying, I can give you a lump sum for this amount, right? It may be a better deal, right? And I think finally, the last thing is your financial hardship specifically. So sometimes I'll ask you a little bit of information about your financial hardship, right? If let's say there's a big chance that you're going to file bankruptcy, right? Now, a lot of people say they use that as a negotiation tactic. Well, I'm going to file bankruptcy, right? But the debt collector be like, well, you make so much income, you're not going to file bankruptcy, right? So if you actually have like very little income, you can prove that, then maybe they can make an exception in those cases to settle the debt for less than, you know, it would be if you just don't want to pay it, right? Okay, so that's kind of in a nutshell, what percentage to offer, how to settle debt on your own. If it's helpful, please take our debt resolution calculator because it kind of gives you options and costs, but no obligation whatsoever. I hope you have a great day. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.